You're recording now.
First, we had last week, this has been months, we have events where young black men, usually black men, are killed by police officers, and there were several not indicting the police officers, or the jury in court find the police officers not guilty of killing. Or police officers, or we had another case in neighborhood watch, you remember? What was the name of the person who killed?
The neighborhood watch guy from
Florida?
Florida?
Trayvon case. Yeah, and the recent one, especially in Staten Island in New York, that's so, we all watched through the video that police basically chop the hole and then suffocates the guy, kills the guy in front of the eyes. And then for a while, several minutes, they do not do any medical help, aid, anything. And therefore, some people see it as a deliberate, or there is a major issue in this country regarding racism, police racism. Some consider violence. What do you think about this issue? There are a lot of protests. There are two sides. And some things that is overly exaggerated, is used for agenda to divide the country, and others sees, no, there's still a lot of racism going on. Okay, anyone who would like
I would say that both are true.
Yeah.
There is a lot of racism that's going on. There's a lot of codified racism that we have written in our laws, and we're a country that supposedly lives by the rule of law. But we have codified racism in the way we apprehend people, the way we decide if we're going to stop somebody for an alleged crime or not, and the way we treat them once they're under custody of the police. So we've codified racism in the country. Now, that being said, if somebody is doing a delinquent act, because we believe that we've codified racism within our laws, that doesn't mean that the police should not try to apprehend someone who's done a crime. So the problem is, we've got, on one side, we have a group of people that are victims, perpetual victims, of a codified racist system. And on the other hand, you have people that are impoverished, disadvantaged, or what have you, doing crime. And how do you handle that?
Well, is there anyone else different ideas on this? Yes, Virgin.
It's
What's your name?
my Virgil.
Louder, please.
I'm loud enough. No, there's a lot of different inputs, but like it comes down to the truth of the matter. The media is always going to overplay whatever angle they're going to do. So, is there racism in the country? Yes. Is racism the common denominator that's causing all these incidents to happen? No. Because in the truth, like the choking case, he could have just complied, none of it would have happened. Should the officer have took it to a violent standpoint? No, they shouldn't have. But it's still both persons' fault. And there's a lot of other evidence that came out that justifies the officer's side, but at the same time, you can't call it racism because the officer in charge of that scene was a black woman. Like, that just wasn't put out as much as the rest of the video showed. But still, like, if he would have just implied, responded like they said, he wouldn't have got choked out, he wouldn't have had an asthma attack, he would have died. But they didn't even take it that far either.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, an angle, aside, like, another angle to look at it from is, why are cops so poorly trained? Do we not fund, like, well enough training for cops, or is the selection process not good enough? And also, why don't cops have any non-lethal use of weapons? Like, I feel like they could put a lot more money into making sure stuff like this doesn't happen, but no one puts money into it. Like, do cops not have tasers, or do cops not have tasers good enough for the situation? Like, and why not? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of different ways it could have gone down. Besides the cop just, you know, not killing him, that he could he could have just, like, there's other ways to control people besides murder. Like, there really is.
Well, but
He
who's
didn't
to
really-
say that he meant to do that? What if
Would
he
you say that he meant to
didn't-
shoot him like 6 times?
Well,
mean-
I don't really pay much attention to this kind of stuff because honestly it depresses me. But I agree with Virgil in that both sides are wrong, and the media is blowing this all out of proportion. I mean, there are plenty of stories you can find of the opposite about black people hurting white people if you want to go with the racism, but you don't see that because racism has been around since forever, and it'll always be around, and both sides handled that wrong, but the media made it even worse by blowing it out of proportion. I mean, the only stories I find about the opposite of white people being hurt by black people or bad things happening to white people is through Facebook. The white people are feeling that it's a form of racism by saying that it's only the black people that have this problem. And the white people are feeling discriminated against because it's not only the black people, it's not only the Asians, it's the white people that have these problems too. But you'd never see anything about that because it's not a black person getting hurt.
Well, the thing about that is, see, racism is alive, and I feel like it's a sad way that we had to get to people being murdered for us to actually talk about it. As a country, I've seen that we kind of try to avoid the thing of racism and that it still exists. A minority can't be racist because racism is technically somebody that's, you know, in a place of power, or somebody, or a majority being racist against a minority, being, you know, having something against the race of somebody that's a minority. That's what racism is. So, like, black person or a Mexican or a Hispanic person or an Asian person can't be racist against white people.
I disagree.
I disagree.
Well,
I disagree on the premise that
it-
the emotion of racism, it stems from an emotion, and a person that feels a dislike or disfavor for somebody else because they're different is a form of racism or some kind
So
of
it
racism.
is racist, but in the conventional meaning,
The majority having a power over the minority, even though both groups share some form of dislike for the other, in similar circumstances, one is in a position of power and the other is in a position of no power or reduced power based on their lack of numbers.
I understand.
But the emotion's the same.
I understand that. No, it is racism in the sense that you have something against a race, but in the definition of racism, it wouldn't technically be racism. Though we have to look at it at the angle that anything you have against somebody else just due to their specific race is in all means racism.
Also, I don't know the numbers. I'm sorry, my bad, man. I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't know the numbers, but I think I'm pretty sure it's significantly less common that events like this happen to white people than it is to any other country. Like, I don't know the exact on that, but it's not the same. Like, we can't act like it happens to everybody the same. It doesn't act like it doesn't happen to everybody the same. It happens to certain black people.
I would hope. I would hope that a police officer that comes across an Anglo or an Asian or a Mexican or a black will treat that individual identically, depending upon the person's behavior, not based upon anything else.
As you should, yeah, definitely.
I think that the problem here, more than anything else, is that people are focusing so much on race, like the whole all black, Black Lives Matter. No, I think that all lives matter, and I think that everyone, whether they're black, white, Asian, Latino, whatever, they should all be treated the same by the police, by each other, by the media. Like, this gets so much more attention from the media because they can spin it up as a racism issue. And yeah, racism is still a problem, but I think it just gets chalked up to that too much instead of like the real issue here, police brutality. That's an actual problem. Why are we focusing on racism instead of that? All lives are equal. Like, if they focus, like them focusing on the race like that is racist.
If the same thing happened to a white person, would the media have blown it so far out of proportion?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't
That's
sell.
my point.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't
they're in
sell.
business to make
So let
money.
me
If it's
understand.
a black cop, it does,
Racism.
but the odds of that happening. is-
Well,
Yeah, right, but the odds of that happening are so much less. So let me get it straight. So acknowledging the science. So let me wait. So to understand exactly what you said, acknowledging the science, the numbers that show that black people and Mexican people and like other people get killed by the cops way more often. To even acknowledge that and think about it, that's racist. I don't think that's racist. That's the science. That's actually what's happening.
Pumped up so much as a racism issue.
The problem,
That's science,
the
though. That's
problem of that
numbers.
kid getting killed wasn't because he was black, it was because the police were too brutal on him. That's the issue, not the fact that he was black.
That is true.
Okay, let me interfere, class. I
Yes,
see
because racism
the
is
elephant in the
focusing on
room.
race. If you focus on the numbers of how many minorities,
Elephant in the room.
It turns into,
it turns into racism.
But then all because you don't
it
focus
turns into
on
white
something that
privilege and it
exists.
turns into poverty and which class is in the most poverty.
Exactly. The issue is, there is racism in this country, undertone, but it's not that flagrant. It's not that, I think in these cases, it may be secondary, but not necessarily the primary motive. The issue is poverty and underclass people. For example, we had the case of Rodney King. Rodney King in 1992, I believe, 1990, early 1990. This guy in Los Angeles, he was beaten by police officers viciously. He was on the floor basically rolling around. They were beating and kicking for about how many minutes? And someone recorded that one. It's obvious abuse of power, but the court acquitted him. The court acquitted him. And there were big riots that time. He was a black person. If he was not, what happened? The issue is several things, in fact. There are two elephants in the room. I will talk about that. Rodney King case. Or we have this case, this guy, if he was a different person, they would not even treat him that way. We have people who are stealing big money in this country. Big money. They fraud and stuff, they are not caught by police officers this way. They have lawyers, they have the way they deal with them with respect. Rodney King, and we have this Trayvon case and this recent Eric Holder case, but I want to give you two cases. One is O.J. Simpson, and then the other one was Bill Cosby, for example. O.J. Simpson got away with murder. He was a black man. Another black man would not get away with murder, but he got away. Why? He had big money and fame. Bill Cosby, now we see, though it is allegation, but I doubt that it is baseless. So many women are coming out. They are saying the same story because it was that time very powerful. Women would not be heard, would not be taken seriously if they claimed that he really raped them while they were having talk or dinner. And the allegation, but he got away, and perhaps he will get away very easily. He will not be handcuffed and beaten by police officers because he has big money and contact. Now, the issue is, one is money. In this country, it talks. Money. And black people, in that regard, there's racism against black people because they are the children and grandchildren of slave owners, and they were discriminated just a few generations before even there are people alive who lived that discrimination. And therefore, it is not easy for them to get out that poverty. In this country, there is a big kind of false idea that people easily change classes. There are many people who are moving up. It's a false story. It's a fallacy. There are a few people, and exaggerated, especially maybe through internet, we have few rich people. They didn't come from dynasties, from very rich families. But mostly, those who are born from rich families, they have a lot of support and connection. they are much ahead in life they start, rather than children born in ghettos, in black neighborhoods, ridden with poverty and crimes. Therefore, there is a, black people were not supported. They got a little bit kind of food stamp, and the reparation for slavery and discrimination was not substantial to change their lives. Therefore, they are in the bottom, and they are basically recycled in prison and joblessness. When they are arrested once, they basically, they get marked, they have difficulty to get jobs and stuff. This money. And the other one is jury system. There is a major problem with the jury system, though we can see what's going on. I had studied the jury system. I worked in the court system for about 1 year. Just after law school, I was a law clerk. We had jury, voir dire, and all jury cases all the time, criminal court. And over there, I observed pretty much, and also I studied it. And also we see these cases, what's happening, how lawyers change the mind of jury members, even if they are black. And they will go against, it seems very common sense. Because our jury system is designed to pick the people who are not really thinking much, deliberately, because it is striking out. Both lawyers, they focus on the jury. If any jury members have certain opinion, this way or that way, out. Or kind of a little bit very knowledgeable about these issues, or certain activism about that person, involvement in society. They are pruned out. What is left over the jury usually are the ones who doesn't have much ideas about the issues. You end up with a very weak jury member, and they are easily swayed by powerful attorneys who are slick in talking, in presenting the cases. They are not able to critically think. They don't have the ones who spark ideas, challenge them. I ended up in jury box, which was a big surprise for the law clerk over there, who was my friend from law school. He says, I never saw a lawyer, a person with law education, ended up in jury box. Well, I know what I didn't lie, but I didn't say the things that will make me get eliminated. They asked me, I told them the truth, but I didn't overdo. Therefore, I ended up in jury box. And I saw personally how jury changed, and I changed the jury's mind over there. I acquitted the guy, and if I was not there, he would be found guilty. I have it in 19.org. I put that case. I don't know, have you read it? Jury, we are the guilty. Jury reached the verdict. We are the guilty. And over there, I changed their mind. And almost everyone raised their hand that he's guilty. And then after the food, I came, 10 minutes talk, changed their mind. But there should be other people like me over there, the opposing views. Now, instead of striking out, eliminating people, there should be three ways of things. Let's say 12 jury, both attorneys, one of them must pick 4 juries. They will pick the strongest one, and the other 4 jury members, the other 4 left over. Therefore, 4 plus 4 plus 4, 12. Now we have 4. One attorney thinks they are opinionated on their side, and another the opponent's side, and 4 somewhere in the middle. And when they clash, I think they will come out with much vigilant jury members, critical and discussing. Of course, the worry is there will be some hung jury members. I don't think there will be much. I think in order to have more consensus, the jury system is designed based on basically eliminating people with some ideas. And I think that's the problem, because jury members easily are swayed by the lawyers who are paid much. Usually the lawyers who are paid much, they are better lawyers. Therefore, if you are a rich person, you have a higher chance to win that. Yes?
On the 2 cases that are recent, the Mr. Garner case and the other one, that both of these young men were killed, one by choking and one by gunshot wound. Both of these cases went to a grand jury, and a grand jury functions a little bit different. There is no prosecutorial and defense attorneys present. There's the county prosecutor or the state prosecutor or the whatever prosecutor, but they're looking to see if they can prosecute the government official, i.e. the police officer. And they decided in both cases not to. They found...
Well, to me it is unconscionable the way they found these police officers. It's absolutely murder, I find it. I don't need even any other evidences. That speaks by itself. The guy was living, a live guy. He didn't kill anyone. He was not harmful. He didn't have weapons. He didn't even do crime. He was selling, poor guy. He was selling new things. This is a poor guy trying to make...
selling cigarettes.
Even if
yeah,
he was crime.
even he was criminal, the way they treated him, the way they choked him, the way all washed, he says, I cannot breathe 11 times. It's absolutely clear case of murder. And jury members, if they acquitted him, the jury members, because we end up with leftover jury members who are not thinking. Who are in the box, easily manipulated by the prosecutor. They feed them, they cage them, they lean them. For example, in Rodney King case, this guy who was beaten viciously, go watch on YouTube. You watch that, you say, these police officers are guilty, but none of them found guilty. Why? Because the prosecutor, the prosecutor was public defender. Yeah, public defender, and yeah, it was. But there were private lawyers defending police officers stuff. They got very smart. What they did, they desensitized the jury members. They should over and over this. They know the psychology. If jury members are not awake, they should know the purpose of this to make me desensitized. They show them over and over, and then slow motion, backward, forward, they start making it the causal connection the opposite. They say, well, here it is, why police officer is beating him? Because he's doing this. Well, he was doing this as a reaction to the previous beating. He was reflexing. Anyone who is beaten would do this, would do that to protect himself. But they said, well, he was trying to charge. Therefore, police officers, they were beating him because of that. They basically turned the things around, but jury members fell into that because they were desensitized first, and then through trick of backward motion, forward motion stuff, they were basically duped.
But the grand jury system is what I'm saying.
Oh, there is another problem with that.
Yeah. You have a government official who's not inclined to prosecute another government official.
Exactly.
And there's no lawyer for the victims that is demanding that he be prosecuted. In other words, what happens is the reverse function occurs where the government official who's supposed to prosecute begins to defend the government official that they're accusing of a crime. There's nobody actually
conflict of interest.
Correct. That's
exactly
conflict of interest. If they're not
conflict of
as
interest.
a true prosecutor.
Anything on this that you don't agree with it? Anyone would say, Grace? Okay. Can we stop this? Sure. I don't know.